Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of third person series. In previous episode, I created some functionalities inside my weapon system component that makes my character pick up weapon, but for now I have only a slot 1, but in this episode I'm going to add more functions into my weapon system component. Alright. Now first I open my weapon system component, and as you can see I have created some comments for nodes that I created previous episode to prevent any confusion, and for every episode I comment nodes of that episode with a specific comments with a specific color, just like this. Okay, now inside my weapon system component I'm going to create a new function, and here from functions I hit this plus icon and I name it get a slot based on weapon. Alright, now I'm going to add some input and output. Here first I add an input and I name it the weapon. And for input type I select master weapon object reference. Alright, and I need two outputs. First one is named weapon slot, and for output type I search for weapon input enum. The enumeration that I created in previous episodes, weapon input enum, which actually is this enumeration. This one. Alright, and also I add another output and I call it holster name. Alright, and for second one I select type of name. Okay, now I get my holster 1 variable and get it here, and now here I drag a node and search for is valid, not the macro. This time I'm going to use this pure function, is valid pure function. And I also get the weapon input. I here right click and search for the weapon and add it here. This is actually this input. And I also get my holster 1 and get it here. Now I drag a node from here and search for equal with double equal signs and connect them both, and here I add an AND boolean node just like this and connect it to here. And now from this section I drag a node and add a branch node and connect my input to this branch node. Okay, now I connect this true part to return value and I set this output on primary weapon, and I'm going to insert my first slot name in here, which is in this case is a slot 1, but to make sure that you are inserting the name correctly, you can double check with the with your character skeletal asset. Alright, now I select all of these nodes and Ctrl C and V, copy paste them here, but this time I'm going to delete this holster one, and instead I'm going to drag and drop this holster 2. I connect this here and again here. I'm going to check it again for holster 2, and again I add another branch node and connect the false part to here, and again from true part I drag a node and I search for add return node. Okay, but this time I set it to secondary weapon and slot 2, which is name of the socket of my secondary weapon. Okay, now I copy and paste these nodes again, and I'm going to repeat this process for my holster 3, which is actually my handgun slot. I drag and drop it here and here, just like previous one. I add another branch node and connect false of previous branch to this one, and from true part I search for another return node, and this time I set holster name to a slot 3, which is actually, as I told you before, is my socket of my handgun, and I set this weapon slot to handgun. Okay, now I compile and close this function, and I go back to event graph. Alright, now I open my check rifle holster macro, and as you can see here I have connected second is valid check to full holster output. So I'm going to disconnect it by holding alt and left click, and now I get my in-hand weapon variable and get it here, and now I drag a node and search for another is valid node. Alright, and I'm going to connect this one to here. Now I get my holster 1 here and my holster 2, and I'm going to check if they are equal to in-hand weapon or not. So I'm going to get one equal node, one for this one and another one for this one, and now I drag a node here and search for or boolean and connect both to this one. This check that in-hand weapon is equal to my holster 1 weapon or holster 2. Sorry, I should replace it with holster 2. I'm sorry. Okay, and if one of them be true, it will returns true. And here I'm going to add a branch node, and now I connect it to here. Alright, now I'm going to create another function for dropping weapon. So here I create a new function and I name it drop weapon. Alright, and I add an input here and I name it weapon to drop, and input type should be master weapon object reference. Now I get my get a slot based on weapon function here, connect it to here and connect weapon to drop input to this input, the weapon. And now I'm going to promote this weapon slot output to a local variable. Alright, and I name it weapon slot. Okay, and now here I right click and I search for weapon to drop. And now I drag a node and search for detach from actor. And I connect it here. I should set all location, rotation and scale rules to keep word. And now I drag another node from here and I search for set weapon state. Alright, I connect it here and I set weapon state to dropped, and after that I set my in-hand weapon to null. So I drag and drop it here, click on set and I just connect it here, and now I get my this weapon slot local variable, and here I drag a node and search for switch on weapon slot. I'm sorry, switch, it was correct, switch on weapon slot nm. I connect it here, and here for my primary and secondary slots I should set my holster 1 and holster 2 to null, and for my handgun slot I should my set holster 3 variable to null, because this holster 3 belongs to handgun weapons. And I'm also going to create 2 more variables in type of boolean. One, I name it rifle equipped. Another one, for example, pistol equipped or handgun equipped. Alright, and for this one and for my holster 1 and holster 2 I'm going to set this boolean variable to false, and for the third one, which is my handgun slot, I'm going to set this handgun equipped boolean to false. And finally I'm going to add a return node and connect them all to here. Now I go back to my check rifle holster macro, and here I drag and drop my drop weapon function and connect it to this branch, to root section of this branch, and here I want my in-hand weapon to be dropped, so I connect it here, and again I drag and drop my drop weapon function and connect it to here, and this time I want my holster 1 weapon to be dropped. Alright, and also I drag a node from this false part of branch node and I add reroute node. I press C to make a comment and I just write to do. For next sessions I am going to add some nodes here, and finally I'm going to connect both drop weapon functions to full holster, this one and this one. Alright, now I open my pickup weapon function, and here as you can see I have for holster 1 empty output of this check rifle macro, I have connected this holster 1 to my character, and now I'm going to do the same for holster 2. So I drag and drop it here, click on set holster 2, and I drag and drop attach weapon to character function. Alright, connect this one to here and connect the weapon to here, and I also connect this one to here, just like holster 1, and I also connect my empty holster variable to here. Alright, and for full holster I get my pickup weapon and connect this here, and for the weapon input I'm going to add my interacting weapon function that I promoted here to this one, interacting weapon local variable. Alright, now I compile and run the game. I have 3 weapons here. I press E, this one is attached. Again, this one is attached to holster 2, and if I pick up this one, the first one will be detached. Alright. Okay, I think it's enough for this episode. But in the next episode, next episode, I'm going to add more functionalities to this weapon pickup system and improve it. Thanks for watching.